All right, guys, in this video, we're going to be looking at another tune, and that tune is Bonnie Galloway. So just like the other tunes we've done so far, Bonnie Galloway is a pretty simple one, and it's good for beginning pipers. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pieces of technique that we should be on the lookout for in this piece of music. So in the first line, really just have G grace notes and D throw. In the second line, same thing. Until we get to the last bar of the line, we have that D strike that we looked at for Amazing Grace. In the third line, in the first bar, we have a half F doubling. Okay, so if you're not familiar with that, make sure you go back and watch the video on F doublings. You have another half F doubling in the third bar, and then an E doubling at the very end of that line. And then finally, in the last line, we have all the same music that we had in the second line. And that is one thing you're going to notice about bagpipe tunes, is that they are very repetitive, and that tends to work in your favor when you're trying to learn them and memorize them. So that being said, let me go ahead and play it for you at 50 beats per minute, and then we'll look at some specific areas of the tune that we can drill and make sure that you're comfortable with to help you with learning the piece as a whole. Okay, so that was intentionally played pretty slowly to help you follow along. And I would recommend that you, as always, start without the metronome first. Try it around that tempo, 50 beats per minute, or maybe even slower. And then I also want to play for you how the piece would sound played up to speed. So up to speed, we'd be playing it at least 80 beats per minute. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that for you now. All right, so that's helpful for you to know, because it's good to know what the end goal is while also still having something that is easy to achieve at first and kind of progressing from there to the end goal. Okay, so that's why I like doing the full speed and also good manageable starting tempo. It's good for you to know what this song would actually sound like played up to tempo. So now let's look at some particular areas that are going to be good for you to focus on, potentially. In exercise 1 here, this is basically practicing these note crossings, because, in these first few weeks and months that you're learning to play the bagpipes, these note crossings are going to continue to be something that you're going to need to practice. And these tunes are good opportunities for you to practice those, and good for you to see those note crossings in contexts. And you may notice a note crossing in a particular tune that you didn't think you had a problem with, but once you go and play the tune, you realize, oh, I have a hard time playing this note crossing going from whatever note to the other. And in Bonnie Galloway, we have a lot of crossing from F. So that's why I've included in exercise 1 here, going from F to basically all the other notes, and then also going up to D and back and forth, and crossing from high A to the bottom hand. Okay, so you can go ahead and play that on your own. I'll demonstrate a few of them here. So line 1, just crossing from F to some of these different notes. Crossing from E to D there as well. So the focus in all of these should be to do that without crossing noises and doing it cleanly with no note in between. In exercise 2, we have this crossing from high A down to the D throw and then back up to F again. Okay, so this is where those note crossings come into play, because if I can't do that transition without any technique on it cleanly, then I'm definitely not going to be able to do it with technique cleanly, okay? So let me play it for you with the technique. And the good way to practice these sections is to just loop them and focus on them that way. And if you end up having a problem with the D throw, just focus on the transition to the D throw only and try that multiple times, and then put it back in the larger section. So how I would practice this would be like this. Okay, and in exercise 3, we have going from the E to the D with a D strike. Okay, so how we would play this would be this way. Okay, and again, the value of this is the fact that we are looping it and we're repeating it, and we're giving our fingers and our brain that chance to build that muscle memory that we need to play these tunes properly. The next section I thought would be good to focus on is in exercise 4, we go from D down further in the bottom hand and then up to the top hand with that E doubling, because you haven't learned E doublings until very recently. So this is the first time you're seeing E doublings in the context of a tune. So let's look at how to play this on its own and looping it as well. So. And then finally, exercise 5, I've included not only because it has crossing from the top hand to the bottom hand and back, but because there's counting in here that we really should address, and that is with these tied notes. And this is something that it might take, a day or two to really kind of wrap your head around, but once you get it, you'll understand how to feel it, and that's why I want to address it specifically right here. So remember that anywhere you have a tied note, we're joining the values of those notes together. So in this tune, you have a lot of these tied notes, and it's normally a quarter note tied to an eighth note. So how we count that is we have beat 1 falling on the quarter note, beat 2 falling on the eighth note that is tied to, and then the next note following the eighth note that's tied to the quarter is going to be happening in between clicks or in between counts. So in this exercise 5, we have dum, bum, bum. So F, C, E. So the C is happening right after click 2. And that's what I want you to internalize, is that you're going to be moving your fingers immediately after almost that second click. So how I play that with the metronome would be like this. And this is at 50 beats per minute. Okay, and that rhythm is going to apply to any of these tied notes that we have in the piece. Okay, so just remember, hold that tied note up to the second click. Once the second click happens, you'll move on to that next eighth note and go on from there. Hope that helps and hope you enjoyed the video. We will see you in the next one.